Thank you very much, and a big warm welcome to everybody today for our first Met Talks event, Building Chatbots and Knowledge Hubs with AI from Concept to Impact. Most of you know me, but I will just do a quick intro and then I will pass you over to our host and speaker today. So I'm Sarah Hannam, I'm the Head of Customer and Community in the team across Met Mentoring and Met Marketing. So today's event has been inspired by you within the discussions and chatter in the online WhatsApp group. So the emphasis today will be on practical real-world applications, not the theory that we've all heard quite a lot of. The idea is that this will be a safe peer-led discussion. So I will hand you over to Jonathan Broadley, who is our host, who will set the context to then hand over to Kat, our speaker, and then I will come back to you at the end to talk through next steps. So over to you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jonathan Broadley. I'm part of the Met Mentoring community. I've been a mentor and a mentee, so I think we've all got something in common there. I've been working in marketing for 10 or 15 years and also business development, generally speaking. But the reason I'm kind of hosting this, I guess, is that I started this conversation with Sarah and then Kat, and it just kind of evolved from there. And we just decided, let's put a webinar on, let's run an event, let's do it kind of like a round table / presentation, and let's debunk some of these myths around AI and showcase what people are actually doing with it rather than talking about the hype, because probably like me, you're sick of hearing about AI. You just want to know how you can leverage it, how you can use it in your own businesses. So that's really the essence of what we're trying to do today, a practical understanding of how AI powered knowledge hubs and agents can actually work. There'll be some people in this session that maybe you've done your own thing on this as well, so we'd like to hear from you. There'll be some people in this session who are just curious to know more, and wherever you are on this kind of journey, on your sort of level of maturity, if you like, on AI, then you're more than welcome, because we want this to be participation from everybody, really. Think about this as we're meeting physically, but the first part of this session really is going to be around Kat showing some of the things that she's been doing. So we want to give a bit of time to somebody to sort of walk through what they've been doing, what they found difficult, what the results have been, and all that kind of stuff, because that's really what Sarah and I and Kat decided people needed to hear, some real life examples and case studies. So the session's obviously going to be recorded. We're recording this and it will be circulated afterwards. So for anybody that couldn't make it today, they also get to see this. We do want it to be quite interactive. So whether you want to ask a question through the chat, or later once we've done the first bit where Kat's presented something, if you want to unmute and ask a question, that's fine. Either way is fine. If you're a bit shy and you don't want to ask a question on camera, then just put it in the comments. The session today is deliberately narrow in focus. We're not just going to be talking about AI generally, because we're not going to cover that in an hour. What we want to do is keep it quite narrow. So each of these sessions, and I think we're thinking at the moment of doing sort of 3 of these. Today is just about building knowledge hubs and chatbots and how agents actually work in that context. So if you've got any questions, try and keep them in that sphere. We will be doing a survey after this. We'll be asking for other topic ideas, but that's for a separate conversation. And we can part any questions we've got around that for those future sessions. So the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to get a sense of where you and in your business you're up to with regards to implementing a knowledge hub or a chatbot in your organization. So I think we have a poll, Tom, that we can kick off. Here we go. So the question is, what is your current experience with knowledge hubs or chatbots in your organization? We want to just get an idea of where people generally are up to with this. So you're either already implemented, so you've already got something in place, you've already built something, or you're in the process of implementing it. So you're on that path. You think there's a good use case, but you've not started anything yet, or you're unsure whether it's even relevant for your business. If you can just pop your answer in there. That'd be really useful. Interesting. So thank you. So one or two people have already implemented. That's great. I don't know whether Kat you voted, because that's obviously one person who's implemented this. Some people are in the process of implementing, but the vast majority of you haven't done anything yet. You think there might be a use case, but you've not started. That's really interesting. Excellent. Thank you. So the people who have already implemented something and the people that are already on that journey, we'd like to hear from you later as well. We'd like to hear your thoughts on this whole topic. So without further ado, I want to introduce you now to Kat, who will take us through what she's been doing at the university. Over to you, Kat.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jonathan. I will just flood some slides up on screen. If everybody could give me a thumbs up if you can see those. Great stuff. Thank you. Okay, so firstly, thank you all for making the time on this Friday afternoon to come along to this session. Just to give you a bit of an introduction to me, so I'm Kat Hackett, the Assistant Director of Communications and Digital at the University of Leeds. But before that, I have worked across multiple sectors. So I worked in financial services prior to the university. Prior to that, I was in travel. And prior to that, I worked in a startup. And prior to that, I worked in pharmaceutical business to business. So had a relatively broad sector experience, and hopefully that useful to help relate to some of you all today. So in terms, before we get into the specific chatbot utility and the pilot project, I thought it might be helpful just to show you how that's couched in the broader piece of work that we're doing at the university at the moment. So I'm in charge of leading AI strategy and implementation across communications and marketing, all channels, and that sits across 4 different streams. So first one being generating an AI-ready workforce, second one relating to GEO, AI visibility and share of voice, third one relating to brand tracking and perception within large language models, and finally developing some pilot AI projects. And the session today will talk through one of those pilot AI projects, which is the customer-facing web agent. So in terms of what we'll cover through this session, first thing we will look at is what has changed in the market. We'll then look at what's the potential opportunity for you. We'll then move swiftly into how to actually build and implement a minimum viable product agent. We'll talk through a few of the technical options for build. And then finally, we'll go into how we're using the data from the agent to guide business and marketing strategy decisions. So in terms of what has changed, I think a lot of us will be really aware that over the last 24 months, we've seen a vast shift in end customer behavior, and a couple of key stats that are articulating that are the zero-click reality that we now find ourselves in. Most recently reported that 57% of Google searches now end without any click to a website at all. So people are finding the answer within the AI overview and accepting that and leaving the search engine. In terms of buyer research as well, we're finding that 41% of users are conducting their early stage discovery via AI tools. So whether that's ChatGPT, which just passed its billion monthly active users mark, or Google AI overviews, we're seeing that consumers are relying on AI to conduct that early stage discovery. It's also proving to amplify the stat that we've seen in 2024 around decisions being made before sales contact. So up to 70% of the buying journey now is completed before we have any interaction with sales at all. And from searching to browsing, which was the expected customer behavior in 2024, where somebody would go into Google, look for whatever they were searching for, select a number of websites, browse through those, and ultimately make their purchase decision based on that. We're now moving to a model where our customers expect to be able to ask and simply receive the answer to what they're looking for. So what's the potential opportunity for us as marketeers then? I think firstly, to help use AI chatbots to help our buyers to confidently choose us, and to enable them to ask questions in their own words versus in the kind of keywords that we historically would have run PPC and other ads for, to provide instant, clear and consistent answers across the whole website, and to reduce our friction across our sales and marketing funnel. And finally, to reduce the need for our buyers to hunt down information that's important to the buyer journey. So this is my crossed finger slide, because I'm going to hop over now to the platform in which we've built our demo agent and talk through that with you all. Can everybody still see screens?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, so hopefully now you can all see a dashboard with what says Pilot Agent, Agent MVP in the center of it, but I'm just going to dash across to the video window to check that's all working okay. Brilliant, thank you, Tom. So what we are in here is an agentic tool called VoiceFlow, which is what we have created one of our pilot agents in at the university. And what I've done today is just set this up as a demo so that you can see exactly how we've done that, and we can run it as an example. So if you click into the agent, you'll see that we've just added in a prompt that talks through exactly how the agent should operate. Now, none of this is in coding language. It's not in Python. It's not in any other language. It's just simply a content-based prompt that outlines what we want the agent to do, how we want to do it, and its tone of voice. So the first thing that we outline, and I'm happy to share a template prompt after this session too, is what the agent's identity and purpose is. So we explicitly state to it what we wish it to do. We outline what goals we have for the agent, and then we talk through the voice and persona of the agent. So what kind of personality do we want it to have? We want it to be authentic, confident and knowledgeable. And we also include a prompt around what we don't want it to do. So we don't want it to be pushy. We don't want it to be boastful. We want to be inclusive and respectful. We want it to be student-centered, or in many of your cases, audience-centered. We want it to use clear, plain English. We want it to be professional but conversational. And we also give it some intro prompts so that it understands what to start each conversation with. We ask it to always begin with an open question. So tell us a little bit more about what you want to find out. And we ask it to confirm its own understanding before it's providing answers. We give it a few examples so that it's got a really clear idea of how that tone of voice executes within practice. And we ask it to end every interaction warmly and confidently. We've given it specific guidelines around how concise it needs to keep our answers. And we also prompt it around providing only one question at a time to avoid information overload or cognitive load on our end users. And we ask it to empathize naturally. We give it some common information areas and scenario handling, and talk to it about how to handle each of those. And we also provide it with a knowledge base, which we'll talk to in a moment. In terms of the buttons that we see on the side here, So you can enable your agent to access information from any of these. So our knowledge base, which I'll show you in a moment, is where we upload all of the proprietary company information into our agent, so it knows how to answer our end users' queries. And then cards, carousels, and call forward are just functionality that we can either enable or disable within the platform. So if we now go to our knowledge base, we can see within this that we've uploaded 714 different data sources to the knowledge base for this agent specifically. And those have predominantly been web URLs. So I don't know about all of your websites, but ours has like a lot of content that already exists and lives on it. But we don't expect our end users at this point to be going and navigating through it to find the information that they want. We simply want to be able to serve them that when they ask a question to us without them having to go looking for it. So we've uploaded all of these different URLs into the knowledge base of our platform so that it exclusively uses the content that's across these URLs versus searching the open internet. And the way that you add a data source is just going up here and clicking Add Data Source. And then you can add your URLs directly, one by one. You can tell it how often to refresh and recrawl that URL. So it might be for some URLs on your website, there's no need to recrawl them. The information is evergreen and won't change at all. And on some, you might need to crawl them quite often to keep them relevant. So we can ask it to do it daily, weekly, monthly, or never. We won't go into that one today because it's a little bit more of a complex part of the build, but effectively you can add your information in this way. You can also do things like add a sitemap. So for instance, if your website is metmarketing.co.uk, you could include that with your sitemap link, and then you could automatically import all of your URLs here. And that's how we've done that with certain elements of Leads Agent 2. And then finally, you can upload via PDF or text files as well. So if you, for instance, have a PDF of brand guidelines that you want your agent to use, or you have a PDF of other business information that would be useful for your agent to have, you can upload all of that here as well, similarly to how you can upload documents to ChatGPT. You can add in plain text as well if you just want to tell it some specific information about yourself and you don't have a web page or you don't have a PDF or any kind of content already prepared for that. And finally, you can integrate it with Zendesk, but that requires a little bit more of a complex setup. So we'll avoid that one today, but you can definitely get something well functioning just using those first 4 forms of data upload. In terms of your settings, you can also customize the style of your agent. So using 11 Labs, and I'd imagine that some of you have probably used 11 Labs in the past, but you can use different voices from there. So let's say we're going to change our voice to Bill instead of Amelia.
As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
And we'll just switch it back to our default, which was... Oh, where's Amelia gone? All right, we're going to be Aria for the rest of today. And you can include and customize here around how quickly your agent should talk, how stable they should be in their conversation, and how similarly AI should adhere to the original voice that it had when it tries to replicate it. You can do things in general customization as well. So you can select your LLM model. So mine is automatically relying on OpenAI, but it then goes to Sonnet if it can't access OpenAI for any reason. So there's always backup in terms of your customer getting an end response. And now we'll go back to the agent dashboard. And this is what my fingers crossed picture was for, because we're going to attempt to run it and hopefully it will all work. Before I do that, I'm just going to do a quick look back on screen to check that we're all still able to see everything. Tom, you've got your hand up. Great, thank you.
Hello, this is Leah from the University of Leeds. How can I help you today? Whether you're thinking about applying, need support with your current studies, or have questions about student life here in Leeds, I'm here to guide you through it all. What would you like to know more about?
Great, so I will ask, rather than going with my predicted plan, I'll ask the audience if you have any questions that you would like to ask the agent, and we'll test it out with some real data in real time. If you were a student going to university, what do you think you might want to know? What's the social life like? Great, thank you, Rhiannon. I will give that a go. Is there a bar? Another excellent question. Okay, so we're gonna, and we will make some typos.
The social life in Leeds is absolutely fantastic. You'll find something for everyone, whether you're into daytime adventures or buzzing nightlife. During the day, you can explore amazing spots like Tropical World with its butterflies and meerkats, get creative at Jackrabbit's Pottery, or relax in beautiful green spaces like Roundhay Park. For nightlife, Leeds comes alive with venues like Brudenell Social Club for incredible gigs, Belgrave Music Hall with rooftop music and amazing food stalls, or Boom Battle Bar for competitive fun like axe throwing and crazy golf. Plus, with students from 140 plus countries, you'll be part of an incredibly diverse and welcoming community.
So as you can see on
I'd love to help with accommodation costs, but I don't have the specific pricing details to hand right now. What I can tell you is that accommodation isn't included in tuition fees, and costs vary depending on the type of room and location you choose. For accurate, up-to-date pricing and to explore all your options, from halls of residence to private accommodation, I'd recommend checking our dedicated accommodation website where you can compare different types of rooms.
So I think, as you can see there as well, when it doesn't know the answer to something because it hasn't been given that content specifically, it won't hallucinate and provide you a fake answer. It will say, I don't have that information, but this is the information that I do have. And you can also program your agent to then refer to a customer service center, or you can link it to a specific piece of content that you haven't uploaded into your knowledge base. So if it doesn't know the answer, it will be honest with you that it doesn't know the answer based on its knowledge base, and it will signpost you to alternative routes.
Now, there's just been a good question here about can it be used across different languages? So, for example, in your context for international students.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So this software can, but I have never done that with it at the moment. So we started just with UK-based students, but as you might imagine, we do have quite a large Chinese and Indian cohorts at the university too. So it's definitely a use case that we want to look into, but we need to ensure, obviously, that somebody's sense checking it who can speak the language.
Yeah, and the voices, are they all American, or do they have any Leeds accents in the library?
So they definitely do, and they're not all American. So I'm going to ask it one more question, which was the question around I'm thinking of studying, but I'm neurodiverse, and then we will change the accent up. Oh, I turned the volume off. That's my fault because I turned the volume off. I'm just going to repost it again.
That's a wonderful question, and I'm so pleased you're considering Leads. We're absolutely committed to supporting neurodiverse students and creating an inclusive environment where you can thrive. Our Wellbeing and Disability Services team provides comprehensive, personalized support for students with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and other neurodivergent conditions. They can arrange reasonable adjustments like extended exam time, alternative assessment formats, note-taking support, quiet study space.
Great. So I'll just mute that now so we can see how it answers that question. And we will go to different voices. Okay, so I've just gone down to settings in the chat here, and then to behavior. And then I've gone into voice. And you can select your custom voice, which is from 11 Labs, which is just artificially generated voices. Let's try Alice.
Just trust yourself, then you will know how to live.
We can try Matilda.
Ideas are the beginning points of all fortunes.
Or we might want to have a go with Amelia. Amelia was our original one for Leeds.
Hi, I'm Amelia, a super high quality English voice. I love to read. Seriously, I'm a total bookworm. So what are you waiting for? Get me reading.
That's better.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jonathan. And in terms of final options, so in terms of what we looked at the university, we looked at 2 core options. We explored about 7 and found that the best ones that were suitable for us, and we're doing an exploration within both platforms, but we have committed to VoiceFlow so far, was Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio is really good if you have to work within an existing tech stack, and you need something that aligns with your existing IT policies. So I guess if you're in a larger enterprise organization, Copilot Studio might be where you start with this. What I would say is that it's less customizable than VoiceFlow, and it doesn't have quite as much utility as the second to market player does. And then VoiceFlow's more designed from a marketing point of view to integrate with various things like HubSpot, to be able to customize and change the voice, and to be able to provide it more brand guideline based instructions. So we are effectively looking at those 2 tools, and we're currently launching it on internal channels. So we're currently launching it on our intranet and our For Students site before we test it on our public facing platform, in answer to Sandra's question in the chat. And then final slide was around data off the back of the chatbot agents. So effectively, we've heard a lot about AI and how it's the new electricity over the last year or so. And one thing that we're trying to think about when sharing that with other people across the organization is, if AI is the new electricity, then what are our electrons that support that electricity? And apologies if there's any physicists here who are saying that's how electrons work. But one thing we are considering is how we take the data that we're gathering from our agents and our chatbots, and how do we use that to build customer understanding at fast speed? How do we guide product investment according to what our consumers are actually asking for? So for instance, if lots of people are asking about a specific thing, how are we ensuring that our product fits the market from that perspective? And then finally, how do we make sure that our campaigns are rooted in genuine interest topics for our users?
So it seems like there's almost 3 stages that you're going through here. One is implementing a chatbot for internal use, then putting that chatbot publicly on the website so that the public can use it, and then the 3rd stage is using the data that's generated from the chatbot to generate insights and help with strategy.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Jonathan. So depending on the risk aversion or not of your fellow board members, then you can go straight to public domain with something like this, or you can test it across internal channels like your intranet first, or by just distributing it to your internal stakeholders. So we've gone down the route of testing it internally first, and then after that we'll push it live, and then after that we'll start to utilize the data to make more informed business decisions. It's one of quite a few pilots we've got going on at the uni from an AI perspective at the moment.
Yeah, sure. And we're getting some questions coming in, so we'll cover those in a sec. Just taking you back to the implementation. So what you've sort of demonstrated today is something that you've clearly been working on a lot. You've implemented it as from an internal perspective. Can you share a little bit about the journey, about sort of the sort of costs involved in this, how much time it took you to get it to this stage? Just tell us a little bit about how you got to the point at which you've been able to show us this today.
Yeah, of course. So the version that I've showed you today is a stripped back version based on the full agent that we've got. But to get this up and running as it stands today, able to answer customer queries and able to rely on the knowledge base, I would say it's probably 10 hours of work. It wasn't like a huge amount of time or effort. It is very much about getting that minimum viable product live so that we can test it and see how it performs and use the data that it gathers to make the model better overall. And that's the cultural change that we're trying to shift internally too. In terms of cost, it's costing us about $200 a month at the moment, and that is for 14,000 credits. So what we used today was about 3 credits, asking about 3 different questions.
Yeah, excellent. And you showed a minute ago sort of I guess really a workflow of information. So it might get to a point where the question needs the user to, I don't know, take a further action or sends them a link or whatever. How much control do you have over that flow on your chatbot?
Lots. So you can add additional flow steps. I'll show you very quickly within the model. Okay, so you can add different flows onto this. So you could add another agent. So often that's the most effective way to do it, is to connect 2 agents. So the way that I talk about agents is 5-year-olds, they're very good at doing one task. If you ask a 5-year-old to go to the shop and buy some sweets, they will probably go to the shop and buy some sweets. If you ask them to go to the shop, buy some sweets, then go to the train station, purchase a train ticket, then call their uncle, and then finally complete their homework, the likelihood of them doing that without you going and supporting them in some capacity is relatively unlikely. So whilst I do believe that the technology will likely evolve, at the moment, giving it a simple base task and then adding another agent into a workflow that it connects to enables it to complete multiple steps.
Got it. Yeah. And so just in terms of, so we've got a real mix of people in this call today. We've got across the board, marketing leaders, marketing managers, senior people within marketing, but actually from very different industries, from different sizes of businesses as well. So if we think about those smaller marketing functions with low resources, how would you recommend they actually get started with this?
Yeah, so I'd recommend that just to go to the platform and have a go. This agent itself for the demo only took about, if I take out the prompt engineering, probably about 4 hours to set up. So it wasn't a significant piece of work. And once you get into it and try it, you'll start to get a feel for it. It's almost like any marketing platform that once you start playing around in it, you'll go, oh, and I can do this. Oh, and I can add this functionality also. So my recommendation would be just to take a few hours out of your month and set aside 3 hours to get started with this. And I mentioned that I'd send a templated prompt as well around to the group so that you can fill that in with your own business information and use that as a starter for 10.
And maybe even use AI to help you create the instructions. Like, you can probably, I guess really what you're saying is don't overthink it and just dive in.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think there's a lot of black box around AI at the moment, and the reality is that these tools are designed for marketeers, not exclusively for web developers. So I think it's just about having that confidence to go and have a go.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about, so it's okay building this in a sandbox, but you're potentially going to put in this on the website at some point, and therefore it's going to get a lot of attention. There's a lot more risk involved, and as actually there was a question earlier on about how do you make sure your chatbot is compliant with the standards of your industry. So the example was pharmaceutical industry. That's we're moving into risky territory. We're no longer creating a nice fluffy chatbot that answers some nice questions. It's quite serious stuff, and there's a lot more compliance and risk involved. How would you recommend that people approach getting buy-in from the board and dealing with that whole question of risk?
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. It's a really good question, and my sense is, firstly, you have to be honest with your board and talk about chatbots much like their social media. So there is no such thing as completely risk-free artificial intelligence at the moment. It does hallucinate, it can hallucinate, and on occasion it will hallucinate. But for the 95% chance and opportunity that it brings to an organization, I think it is about outlining what the risks are and then deciding whether you as an organization can accept those risks or not. And the comparison that I often make with our internal team is around social media. We know social media is not completely risk-free. If we wanted to have zero risk appetite from a reputation perspective, we just would not be on it, full stop. But we feel that the benefits to our end user and to our customer and to their buying journey outweighs the small risk of the AI hallucinating, particularly when you have created a prompt that includes your specific knowledge base sources that it can use, and that it can't just go off and browse the open internet to provide answers.
Yes, yeah, and so start with as you have, internal use only, so that you're reducing the risk. It's not publicly accessible, and test it and prove that the number of times it hallucinates is actually so tiny that I mean, the question that was asked earlier was around a compliant. Would you say that in your industry you're having to think about compliance in the way that maybe in the pharmaceutical industry they are?
I'd say less so. So we do clearly have to stick to competitions market authority regulations, but probably having worked in FS and pharmaceuticals a long time ago, it is more regulated, and you will definitely need to put more guardrails in. However, that's what your knowledge base is for. It's for uploading all of that information to say this is exactly how you need to answer this type of question. These are the guardrails and regulations, and this is the framing that you need to adopt when talking to users.
Yeah, and then the question I have as well around that transformational value of that third stage of the 3 steps, which is you've got your chatbot live, you're effectively generating first-party data as a result of that, because people are coming to your website, they're asking these questions, they're providing you with a whole load of insights. What are you expecting to get from that for the university, and what kind of thoughts or what kind of ideas do you have about how people in this meeting today should be thinking about that data and what they might be able to get out of it in terms of business value?
Yeah, thank you. So I think we all remember when Google went to keyword unknown, and as marketeers we went, we've lost 90% of our search term data within Google Analytics at that time. And for me, chatbots do bring that very, very, very first intent customer data back to the forefront for organizations. So we can see what our customers' questions are in real time and get an understanding of any hot topics, anything they're particularly interested in, or also anything that's preventing them from continuing down the funnel or continuing down their buying journey. So for me, the real value of a chatbot, as much as a nice shiny chatbot is great, is what data you can glean from it, and then how you can use that to improve all of the 4 Ps across marketing. So whether that's our product change that you need to make because the customer doesn't understand the product, or the customer wants to see a new product, or whether it's a change in your promotional activity to provide content campaigns that are more aligned to what the user's interested in. And I think that's relatively sector agnostic.
Excellent. Final question from me, just on this section then, is what are the advice that you would give to people to avoid some of the common mistakes when thinking about implementing knowledge hubs and chatbots? Yeah,
so I'd say not to overthink it. I think we can look at chatbots and talk about agentic AI, and often we make the assumption that this is technically beyond us. I'd say that with the democratization of a lot of code and the way we're moving in terms of artificial intelligence, that doesn't seem to be the aim of the big firms. If you look at OpenAI and Claude, etc., they are trying to make everything accessible to a non-coding user. So I'd say that one big mistake I guess people make is presuming that it will be technically beyond them. I don't think it is. I think we can all do it within this room, would be my perhaps key takeaway for the day, that I believe anybody within this room would be able to go and create one of these for their organization should they see it being a fit and adding value.
Yeah, and given that the majority of people in this room are currently not doing anything on this, that's quite good to hear, isn't it? So when we asked that poll question at the beginning, it was clear that some people have started to do stuff in this area. Not very many people have implemented it yet. Kat, were you the one vote for I have implemented something on chatbots? Were you the one?
I didn't vote. No.
Oh, so there's one other person apparently in this room who has done something. Who's going to be brave enough to admit that it's them? Well, you're not going to come on the next webinar then. So, okay, you want to remain anonymous, that's fair. Quite a few of you said, though, that you are in the process of implementing or certainly looking seriously at this. Does anybody want to sort of share some of their experiences so far? Even if they've not got anything fully formed and live, just it'd be good to hear from you as well. I assume people can unmute, can't they, Sarah?
If people just put their hand up, then we can unmute from our side, and then they'll be able to do it themselves. Or Tom, you could just unmute everybody at the minute. Might be an easier point when we go to the Q&A.
I'm not sure I can unmute everyone at the same time, but yeah, if people put their hand up, that's probably the easiest.
Just a flurry of dogs and whistles and construction companies and all sorts coming into the call all of a sudden. So does anybody want to share any of their personal experience in this area that we've heard from Kat?
There's quite a lot of questions in the chat as well that haven't been answered.
Yes. So. Yeah, definitely. Let's go to those then. So we answered the question around languages and the compliance thing. So the results that you've seen from this, Kat, a lot of these questions were actually targeted at what you were showing before, so you'll have to take center stage again, unfortunately. In terms of the results that you've been seeing so far, I think you said though that you've not put this live on the website, but just from an internal use, have you seen any impacts yet?
Yeah, so the main job of it at the moment is to create that awareness and desire to have it on an outward facing website. So we do get a significant amount of traffic to the uni website. I won't say specifically how much, but there's a lot. So the program of cultural change, I guess, that I'm taking the organization through at the moment is that ADKAR model of awareness, desire and knowledge. And at the moment, having this chatbot live internally, the purpose of doing that is to get them aware that it's possible and aware that it can answer questions in a kind of non-clunky, strange, robotic way. and to help them build desire to have it on our external channels. So I'd say that in terms of impact, ultimately we will see the impact when we put it live on our customer facing channels.
Yeah.
But for me, it's also impactful from an organizational change perspective that people are starting to think about AI as something that we can actively use at the organization to drive value to our end users.
Yeah, excellent. And some of these questions are going to be quick fire. Are you ready, Kat? Because they don't follow a pattern. So as part of evaluating, so lead gen. So if you wanted to have your chatbot feeding into a contact form integrated into the bot, so there's, like I was asking before, that sort of controlling that sort of flow, so the chatbot gets to the point where they want to capture information, and therefore the chatbot is effectively a lead generation tool as well. Is that something that can be achieved and therefore reported on?
Yeah, it is. So I can show you how we do that at a very quick level.
And there's another question as well, which is in the same area, which is there a customer conversion piece here or just a customer service tool? Because what you're building this for is more around customer service, I guess. But obviously some people in this room are interested in that customer conversion.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can, I think everybody can see my screen again now, can they?
Yes.
Brilliant. So when you set up your agent, you add what integrations you want. So for this demo, I just added HubSpot because it was, an easy one to add. And then you can say what variables you'd like your agent to collect, and you can add to your prompt what kind of questions you want from a lead gen perspective within there. So I've just said at the moment, collect first name, last name, email, and integrate that with HubSpot. And then you provide your LLM description. So what do you want your LLM to say when it's creating that data? So yes, it is possible. It just requires a little bit more integration.
Yes. Yeah. I think the answer to most of these types of questions is probably yes anyway, isn't it? These tools are so flexible and modern. So the other question here from Ali was around, she's saying that she goes to chatbots when she can't find the information on a website. She gets annoyed when they don't know the answer because of how they have been trained, which obviously is annoying. I mean, even I go to some large corporate websites and I get given 3 options, and it's like I just want to communicate something, and you're narrowing me to 3 options, and what you've built is already better than what BT have on their website, which is that sort of narrow thing. Would you say most chatbots are for lazy, sorry, don't want to be rude, people who need a quick, easy fix? What's your user case?
Do I think chatbots are for lazy people that want a quick, easy fix? No, I don't. I think that all of us nowadays I could pick up my phone now and have a takeaway delivered in 45 minutes to my house. I could order something on Amazon and have it arrive this afternoon. I have an expectation, and I think all customers now have an expectation that they should be able to be answered instantly and given the information that they want. I don't think it's lazy. I think it's just customer expectation now. And be interested to hear from other people about their audiences, but particularly with Gen Z, which form obviously quite a bulk of our sales audience. They have even higher expectations than some other demographics too. So does that answer your question, Jonathan? I'm not sure if I've covered all of that.
I think it does. I think the expectation, yes, is becoming more acute, but actually I don't remember any generation wanting it to be difficult to get the answers to questions. So it's just becoming more acute because it's a bit of a cliche, but the world's getting faster, we're all got less time, yada yada. But technology now, some businesses that are more advanced make it really easy to get the answer to questions, and it's really easy to get a delivery from Amazon. It's actually really weird when you're ordering from an e-commerce site that charges you for delivery and it takes 5 days. It feels weird suddenly because you're so used to using Amazon, and therefore if you want to keep ahead of your competitors, or at least keep up with your competitors, this is the sort of thing that you need to be doing because they might be doing it as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Is the price based on how many queries you get?
Yeah,
That's a good question, actually. And actually, it's a generic AI question, isn't it? It's like how the pricing model is a bit confusing. So if you can explain a bit around that.
Yeah, of course. So it's token-based pricing, which means that effectively you pay for every answer that the AI provides. So you sign up for an amount of credits, and that gives you an amount of tokens. So I had 14,000 credits for about $200, which is like 14,000 questions of the AI. So an average user might say ask 5 questions within that chat.
Yeah.
As I say, it's kind of in test mode at the moment, but what we'll do is we'll balance an ROI piece once we put it live. So we'll say how many leads do we generate through it? What's the value of those leads? What organizational impact does it have in terms of like how far down the funnel are the questions, and how does that map to our sales funnel as well?
Yeah. Question around the product itself that you've demonstrated and the rest of the market. How does this compare to others? The problem is at the moment with AI and generally technology and MarTech tools, there's just so much of it. It's just noise, isn't it? It's like, which one do you pick? How does this compare to others that you looked at in the market? And why did you pick this one?
Yeah, so I'd say that there's 2 front runners for me in the market, and as always, everything is personal choice. But Copilot Studio, if you need something enterprise suitable and that will align with your existing tech stack, is just not as jazzy and doesn't have as many integrations and can't adopt things like tone of voice as well as this. And then I've chose this because I feel like it has the legs to integrate with a lot of things that we'll want it to integrate with in terms of CRM capability, not US facing voice. I know a couple of people have mentioned that in the chat. Being able to bring in specific brand guidelines, and it still allows you to add those guardrails and governance things that we need to do from a university perspective.
Yeah. Considering that 3/4 of the people in this meeting have not already started on this journey, one of the things that strikes me is that you could, depending on the nature of your business and what you're trying to achieve, get started is more important than getting the perfect tool. And the Copilot Studio, whilst it's nowhere near as sexy and feature functionality rich as the thing that you've chosen, maybe that's the path of least resistance for a lot of small businesses, because you're already using Microsoft Office 365, upgrade the licenses, off you go. And therefore, yes, it might not do all the things that your system is doing, Kat, but at least you've got started.
Yeah, and the criteria that I'll always put into place on pilot projects is what's the business impact and what's the technical feasibility? And then the sweet spot sits within the middle of those 2 things in terms of whether it's a successful pilot project or not. And if you can drive business impact and it's more technically feasible for you to get started with Copilot, then do that. And then you can prove the business impact, and then you can invest further in tooling from there and build kind of the board's risk appetite as you go.
Yeah, there's a slight over obsession and healthy obsession with tools, I think sometimes, and not just getting on with things. I think the question around would you recommend trialing for something like internal comms first, less risk and be tested on colleagues? I think we answered that question earlier, I think. Sorry, Haley, I think you may have asked the question before we then covered it. And yeah, I think we've gone through. I think we've covered a lot. If there's anything else that you don't feel that we've covered there that you really have a burning question around, please pop it in the chat now, because we're kind of coming up to time. Is there anything else you want to ask or add or ask Kat while we have her? I think they're all questioned out, Kat. That's been brilliant. Thank you. And thank you for all those questions. That's really good. And I think we covered I think most of the things we wanted to cover there, Kat.
Yeah, brilliant. And just to say thank you to everybody for for going through the demonstration, and I'm more than happy to connect with you all after this if you do have any further questions. But appreciate all of your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. Back over to you, Sarah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both, because this started as a tiny little acorn of an idea, and with both your help, we've been able to bring it to life, which is really good. So thank you very much. So what will happen from now, we will send out a copy of the recording, and I think the Loom walkthrough you mentioned that you'll be able to send to me as well, Kat. And then I will send out a survey. So given that we've said this has been inspired and designed, curated by the community, please take 2 minutes to fill in this survey, because this will help us scope out and plan what the next event will be, who would like to talk, and then we've got a really good opportunity here to kind of share and empower each other in the knowledge that's available. And then once I've got all of those, then we can discuss the next sessions. But yes, thank you very much, and